This is one of those games that always receives a bad rating from anyone who comes in contact with it. Legitimately, I've never heard one good word about it. Most common complaints are about the sluggish speed of the game and the usage of Mode 7 technology, which probably contributed to that lack of speed. So, upon purchasing it, I thought basically that I would have a hilariously bad game that I could just rip to shreds in an episode. Now, unfortunately, that was not the case. Somehow, some way, I was able to really enjoy this game. Now, I will admit the speed of the game is absolutely slower than normal. It makes perfect sense to assume that this slow pace would be inhibitive, because most of those other bad basketball games of the era, including the infamous Lakers vs. Celtics by Electronic Arts, ran at the pace roughly equivalent to that of a narcoleptic snail. But this game just doesn't seem to work that way. The slow pace actually makes it kind of enjoyable. There is something weirdly enjoyable about trying to get a run-and-gun style of offense in use in this game, and when you get it to work, it can lead to some pretty cool results. Now, the Mode 7 style of graphics makes this game different from any other basketball experience on the Super NES at that time. Most games were based at either an isometric perspective or from a high sideline perspective. This style, which was sort of a precursor to the camera angles seen in many modern basketball games, was never really used before, and though it's a little sloppy, it still works fairly well. One thing I will note is the absolute absence of a crowd. It's just a blue void of nothingness. That's one of the things about using Mode 7. The world outside of the field of play can be nothing other than a void. There is still some sound effects that would come from being at a basketball game, and that is actually a little unsettling, especially when Invisible Queen starts up. We will rock you? Well, there's nobody really to rock. Or anybody to do the rocking. Now, actual gameplay is simple enough. However, the AI is a little on the dumb side and defense is almost non-existent. Realistically, you just wait around for your opponent to shoot and hope they miss. It's kinda hard to pull off blocks and steals, but I have done it. And on offense, everything is fairly simple as well. With the speed of the game, you'll probably have to run a fundamental game plan, however, which a lot of people aren't focused on. The game's biggest problem, however, is the selection of teams. Other collegiate athletic games of the time, College Slam and Bill Walsh, college football chief among them, would select teams based on their rankings, so a selection of the best teams were included. In this game, however, all teams are included based on the conference. However, with the space of a Super NES cartridge, the Big Ten and Pacific 10 conferences are unavailable for the player. So while most of the dominant programs in college basketball are playable, including North Carolina, Kansas, Syracuse, and Kentucky, many others like Michigan, Indiana, Memphis State, and any school west of Colorado are left out. I guess we can cope with the loss of these schools if we can still play the classic rivalry of Southern Methodist and Rice. Hooray! But really, this game is up to the interpretation of the players. If you can learn to enjoy the slow pace, then you'll have a pretty good time with this. If you can't, well, then you're going to want to stay away.